When was the last time you stopped to wonder if body composition testing was actually useful for you as a fitness professional, useful for your business, or useful for the client? What I would love to chat with you all about today is why it might not be just useful, but it might also actually be causing harm to our clients. And it might actually be preventing people from even entering your front door or ever deciding to work with you. Body composition testing has a really strong hold in our industry. It is the thing that has been done since I've been in the industry over 17 years. And it's never something I ever thought in my early days, should I even be doing this? This is something that just was part of our standard initial consultation when you entered and started working with a personal training client. And in 2012, I had this epiphany that I watched so many people who were new to exercise go through the body composition assessment process and feel bad afterward, feel sad, feel embarrassed, feel shamed, feel judged. And they look like they did not belong and feel like they belonged in fitness spaces. So in 2012, as a fitness director, I stopped allowing any of my trainers, or I was not producing it myself, having any body composition testing done at all. And I have really never looked back. None of the clients have ever complained. We found really incredible ways to help people feel like they are connected to their body, to their exercise program. And we're really using behavior change theory to guide that rather than traditional assessment data.
What's funny about that is right around the same time, myself, our team, I was the GM of a private club, and we stopped doing it too. It's wild.
Yeah.
Around
Yeah.
that same time frame. Who knows what was going on between you and I and our thoughts, but I it had been such a staple of my education
Yes.
and going through the black book of ACSM testing and protocols. And then I realized the same thing. This may be causing more harm than good.
Mhm.
So tell me a little bit more about that moment or that time period that things started really going, man, this may not be the right thing to do.
Yeah, at the time, I spent a lot of my career working in higher education as a fitness director for rec centers on campus. And so I'm working with a lot of traditional college student ages, 18 to 22, but also with a lot of alumni and faculty and staff and their partners and dependents. So working with folks anywhere from 18 to 75 or 80. And I just started to see the anxiety that my clients and my staff's clients would have when they saw that it was an assessment day, or they would have a weekend where they traveled and had all this great food, and then they would come back nervous about what the assessment data was going to say. They were no longer living in their bodies. They were no longer present with the things that made them feel good, the things that exercise did to help them feel good. It only became about what the paper said or what the assessment data was telling them. And they were living and dying by those numbers. And at the time, we were using skin fold testing, which the plus or minus on that is pretty crazy, anyways. So I'm like, these numbers are plus or minus 5 to 7%, and you're still living and dying by whatever the number says. There was no amount of counsel we could give the client around, but this, but that, but this, but that. It never mattered. They were just so overwhelmed by the data all the time. And those are just the clients who were already in my space. I started to think about, especially on a college campus, I'm well aware of all of the students that are not coming into our space and do not feel like they belong in that space. And I started to be aware that this is actually a barrier for people working with us. And I just, frankly, I made a hard cut. I was like, tomorrow, we're done. We're not doing it anymore. And like I said, I've never looked back, and I find that it's a much more holistic, comprehensively focused experience that clients are getting when they're not just focused on the numbers.
Most definitely. And one of the things I think is really interesting, we both have been educators. I'm an educator, and the accuracy is wildly off for personal trainers performing this. The Even if you're really amazing at it, the margin of error is still significant. And imagine you have various pathways of getting into the business, often which don't include practicing hundreds and
That's right.
hundreds of times of doing body composition, rockport walking tests, literally,
Mhm.
you name it. And so all of a sudden, the trainer is providing this testing with clients, and they have no confidence in your ability to do this well. and you're providing completely inaccurate results. And so as another barrier is the trainer's inaccuracy is a huge part of it
Right.
too.
Yeah, the infrequency that they are practicing these tests, which require a high level of frequency in order to deliver them correctly every time. And so, not only, like you said, are we not providing numbers that are super strong or correct, but those numbers mean something to our clients. They are taking them to heart. It is meaning something about them. And even when the client or the trainer, rather, is trying to tell them, no, it doesn't mean anything about you. This is just data. This is just one of the components we're using. It does not matter to the client. They still take it as to the heart, and it feels really personal and upsetting for them. It doesn't really matter how well the trainer delivers them. Again, in my experience of seeing that.
Yeah, it's
What's really interesting now too is that we're seeing so many gyms. Not now, I should say, body composition testing used to be something you were just doing with your trainer. Now it's something that gyms are offering as a part of their membership. So you're getting a in-body scan, you're getting a bod pod scan, you're getting some type of scan baked into the cost of your membership and then allowed to have them every 30 days. So no longer are you even having a trainer discern with that client what's the right test for you, how often should we do it. Now it's open to the masses, and there isn't always going to be someone to provide the kind of care and counsel around those numbers. And that can be really upsetting for clients or participants or members who are not in the right headspace. It can be harmful emotionally, mentally, if they're not getting the right care around them. And at the end of the day, we haven't said this yet. It is not necessary for me to have that data, for me to program as a trainer, for someone to have an excellent experience in my facility, or to have long term success with physical activity. So if it's not necessary and it's harmful, why are we still doing it?
I think it's like what you had mentioned before we got on and we started press that old record button was it's just like a lot of things in life. It's because we've always done it. And when we
Mhm.
always do things, we have a big trouble spot or a blind spot in getting out of things we've done forever. People are just used to doing certain things. And our industry is certainly guilty of.
That's right. And the data kind of changes and it's always an estimate, but the CDC released data in 2020 that estimated that only 25% of the US population is meeting physical activity guidelines for strength and aerobic. We have 75% of the US population still not meeting physical activity guidelines. And whose job is it to help people do that? That's our job. So we still have so much more work to do. And to that point about this is something we've always done, so we keep doing it, we're surely not succeeding just yet. We have 75% of our population who isn't moving regularly. So what if we took a hard look at this practice that's age old and traditional in our field and made some modifications to actually help people have less of a barrier to enter our space and focus more on their comprehensive experience with us rather than just the age old, oh, here's your body composition. Here's how much fat you need to lose. Here's how many pounds you need to lose.
Certainly. And what's interesting too is I'm teaching a certified personal trainer prep course currently, several versions of it. And obviously, in the curriculum, we talk about fitness assessment. And there's one aspect, the understanding resting assessments and all these different things and going through lifestyle questionnaires, the PAR-Q and all this too. Not only that's good information to know, but it protects you legally as well in those things. But a lot of the physiological assessment, the movement assessment, and especially body composition is generally not wanted by a lot of clients anyways. They already know. Most clients come to you very deconditioned in some form. They are aware of their current state of being. I'd love for you to talk more
Yes.
about that because that is something
Yes.
I think we don't talk about enough.
I love that point. I think about that all the time. Do you know how long it takes someone to enter our doors? Again, I keep mentioning, right? I'm mentioning a traditional fitness facility. Those are the types I have worked most of my career in. So we'll keep that idea going, a traditional gym or studio setting. Do you know how long it takes someone to get to the place where they feel ready to brave the front door and enter in your facility and be ready to put themselves up and say, okay, I'm here. I know I need to make a change, and here I am. The last thing they need is a literal stranger making them do some type of assessment like this and then point to the results that say you're in this category. They're like, I know. That's why I'm here. I don't need to be demonstrated to. And I will say, as an anecdote to that, in my business, so I focus on working, I help other businesses create belonging for new exercisers in their business specifically. So I go to a lot of gyms and I let a lot of those folks work with me like I'm a new exerciser. I don't talk to them about the experience I have and I just see what it feels like in their shoes. I went to a local gym in Seattle last year to do the same thing, sign up for a membership, and just let them take me through their standard onboarding. Part of that standard onboarding was an in body VIA assessment, which they did right away, and then showed me my results. And he said, "It looks like from this assessment, one of your goals will be to lose 20 pounds. How do you plan to meet your goal by losing this 20 pounds?" And I was shocked that he would tell me that and phrase it that way. And I just simply said, "I have no interest in losing 20 pounds. I'm here to move my body and strength train and use your treadmills. No interest in losing 20 pounds." And then he went on to remind me of all the ways and all the resources they have to help me when I do feel ready to meet that goal of losing 20 pounds. So not only, let me stop and say this, I have high self-efficacy in this industry, right? I've been in this industry a long time. If someone has low self-efficacy coming in for the first time, it took them 6 months to work up the courage to enter that front door. And the first thing a stranger tells them is, "You need to lose 20 pounds. How are you going to do it?" Putting them right on the spot. They are likely to have a very stressful experience and not ever really likely to come back or feeling extra motivated to come back. Luckily for me, I didn't have that experience because I have the experience in the industry to like disregard that information. But it is terrifying, to say the least, that some of our new exercisers might be feeling this way. And then the barrier to entry is incredibly high.
And it made me think about I was giving feedback to a student today about fitness assessment, which is funny. This week lined up with this conversation we're at in our curriculum. And we didn't plan it this way, by the way. It's not like we planned this, but I provided a very similar commentary of you is similar that imagine the journey this person is undertaking. They didn't decide to hire a personal trainer like yesterday. It was a long journey. And in many
Mhm.
instances, this is one of the most vulnerable things they've ever done, which is give up their agency in this part of their life for that.
Yeah.
And I think we need to be better about recognizing the gravity of that situation that when someone actually makes that decision, they've been through a lot to get to that point. So
Yeah.
that I think is it's actually a really beautiful thing to think about that someone has really they've made a decision to change, which is their behavior change is so hard to do.
So hard.
Huge hurdle to overcome.
Mhm. When I think to myself, okay, why is our industry still hung up on this model? And I think we're missing some key questions. We're missing the first question, which is that something I want to be doing? Me as a trainer, as a health coach, as a business owner, is that something I want us to be doing? Okay, yes or no is the answer there. Then it's okay, when do I want to do it? Is it right when they're entering the door? Is it during the initial consultation when everyone is still strangers and there's no rapport having been built yet? Or do I want to wait 2 months or 3 months or 6 months? Because all this data can still be useful. I think it's a previous misconception that we have to have it at the entry point because physiological change takes so long. We can still get great data if we wait some time into it. So again, asking the when and then also asking the who. Not every single client can benefit from this data. So we need to think about who is the right client, when should they be getting it, and if I even want to offer it. Having some more discerning questions around that experience will provide a better experience for our clients overall.
For sure. It's so funny when we connected on this and you emailed me about it. I was like, this is exactly what I was looking for this type for this podcast like this. Have you ever thought about this? Like type of thing. And I
That's
think
right.
so much of this whole thing is have you ever thought about this isn't great for people?
Yeah.
And it also
Right.
it really it drills down to a central tendency of people to not think about these types of questions, to be self-reflective, this thoughtful thinking about your thinking.
Think
I'm
about
in
your
this
thinking.
moment.
Mhm.
Is this the right thing to do? Instead of just
Mhm.
do exactly as the protocol. Maybe this isn't the right thing to do. That requires some sitting down, some stopping yourself and being almost inside of your own mind and think, is this what I
Mhm.
should be doing?
Yeah, giving some time to the reflective experience of others. Because a lot of problems we have in the fitness industry is if you're in and if you're out. And what I love about this podcast is that you're bringing up all these topics that have been ingrained in the way we have operated or thought for a long time. And we're having an opportunity now to just, again, sit back and reflect on what is the intentional experience I want to be creating for other people. And if if we can get rid of the in, you're out. If I'm in, I forget what it's like to be new to a fitness space. So much of my business involves talking about how we create safe spaces for new exercisers. And the first thing I recommend every single person do is when is the last time you went to a gym that wasn't your own and let them treat you like nothing? Because we get so comfortable in the four walls and the spaces that we work in every single day with our knowledge, and that's okay, but it does get in the way of our ability to see what it's like for someone who's new to enter our space. So if we're on the inside, it's easy to forget that asking someone to take a body composition test to a stranger and then get those results reported back to them can be extremely harmful, if not triggering, in so many ways. And if we're on the outside, all we can think about is how scary it is. Darren, I don't know if you've had this experience, but I've had so many clients in the past who used to say, I want to lose like 10 pounds before I come into the gym. I want to lose some weight before I start working with a trainer, 'cause then I'll feel better about myself. And this type of experience, having traditional fitness assessments or traditional body composition testing, is a major barrier to people feeling like they can show up as they are. You are perfect the way you are. We're happy to have you. And we're just going to focus on adherence, behaviors, and just get you moving in a way that feels good for you.
I've definitely had that experience, or I need to get in better shape before I start working with you. It's like, what is that gonna
A
do?
classic line.
Yeah, yeah, most trainers, if you've done this a long time, like we have, you've heard that over and over
Hmm.
again. I think it's a really interesting time to be in too, because we're also trying to deal with this the constant barrage of video that went through platforms that show sculpted bodies and low body composition and
Hmm.
aspiring to something that is actually generally very unhealthy for a lot of people. But the pull
Right.
for that is really strong with people. That I think there's also this kind of symbiotic relationship between body composition and doom scrolling and seeing different
Mhm.
bodies that are done all these things to look a certain way. And we have a hard time breaking this measurement trap that we always get in with people.
Yeah, especially because we're up against the mainstream media too. So it doesn't matter really how much work you and I are educating the students we're interacting with or the clients we're interacting with, because we're still up against mainstream media that says a small body is good, a small body is healthy, a small body is desirable. A large body is bad, a large body is not desirable, a large body is not healthy, regardless of any behavior at all, which is why I love the idea of getting rid of traditional fitness assessments and instead finding your own ways of measurement for change. Let the client determine to them what is important. It's not for me to say if your body composition is lower, you're healthier and happier. That might not be true. So we need to find ways that the client is feeling supported, the client is feeling good, the client is feeling the most like themselves. And that's what I actually like to measure the most with my clients is not how much weight they've lost, but it's how much do you feel like yourself? Because that is always the goal. We always feel our best when we feel most like ourselves.
Definitely. And I think for trainers out there up and coming or just seasoned trainers, to
Mhm.
me, that intake, the psychological intake, the lifestyle intake, and just the human intake of
Mhm.
what do you see as a success in this experience? How do
Yeah.
you feel? How do you feel best yourself when someone is in a coaching environment with you? Like you want them to feel they're a part of this program versus this is what we're going to do. You're going to get down here. You're going to do this push up assessment.
Mhm.
Okay. You're going to do this 3 minute step test. All right. I'm going to put it up 12 inches on the box here. You're going to do this sit and reach test, which just looks crazy, by the way.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
and this is going to tell you you're probably pretty bad. Actually, you're probably pretty bad at this. Just so you know, I know you are, but I'm going to tell you again, this isn't great. More
Mhm.
people instead of going, let's
Yep.
look at the behavioral aspect of this. How
Yeah.
do you want to feel in these
Mm.
sessions? How do you want to show up each time? All these different things that are again much deeper questions more reflective, and much more indicative of the human experience. How do we wake up every day? How am I going to present myself when I show up to these sessions? It's
Mm,
and on both sides. That's the thing I love about it. It's not the client, just client. It's a
that's
trainer.
right.
How are you showing up? How are you?
That's right.
What's the presentation of you for this experience, which is actually one of the more powerful experiences I feel always.
What's funny, sometimes in these conversations, I'll bring up the presidential fitness test that some of us had in elementary
Remember
school.
that.
And you have one of two experiences. I crushed it. I loved it. I nailed it. I did all the things. Or I hated it. I had anxiety about it. I was terrified of it. And unfortunately, that has not changed in some people's experiences with assessments or with physical assessments in our world. I primarily like to focus on really one thing if I can. If I could boil it down to one thing, I focus on self efficacy, especially working with new exercisers. New exercisers are more likely to have a lower level of self efficacy. But what we know is a high level of self efficacy is more closely associated with regular physical activity adherence, right? What creates higher self efficacy? Successful experiences, low stress experiences, feeling like they can master whatever they're doing. This is not about intensity achievement. It's not about getting their ass kicked in a workout, leaving a sweaty body print on the floor. Like it's about walking out or exiting your space feeling like, oh, that felt good. I did that. That felt really good. And so that's what all I always want to focus on is creating successful experiences for every single person I get to interact with. And like you talked about, having that really dynamic relationship between the trainer, the health coach, the instructor, and the participant, and trying to reduce the stressful experiences that they have. Because I want to ensure that every time they're working with me or in a facility that I'm supporting, they're increasing their confidence and increasing their self efficacy each time they have an experience.
I love that, creating successful situations. One of my newer clients, her name is Rebecca. She listens to my podcast regularly. And so
What's up, Rebecca?
she's gonna love hearing this. Rebecca started from literally scratch with me. And one of the biggest things I always say is I'm gonna meet you exactly where you're at. That's where I'm gonna meet
Mhm.
you. And this is a two-way street. We're working together. This is a confidant relationship, a companion relationship, and we're going to move in this together. And so our goal is just to get you moving better, little by little, shaping behavior, little by little over time. And I have some entertainment value. I was talking to Kristen about this. I have some entertainment there, but just be a human to other people in the experience and disarm or take down the veil of the experience, which
Yeah,
can
right.
almost feel like this assembly line experience. It's a personal experience, an extremely
Yeah.
intimate experience, I would say. In many
Yes.
ways, I've said this too. If you're working, you have a large clientele, you're serial dating a lot of people. You got to be great at building relationships. So you got
Mhm.
a great relationship often is part of taking down barriers that keep you from being close to each other.
That's
And
right. Yeah.
the assessment in many ways and traditionally done is a barrier that keeps you from being close to each other. You're literally it's like saying you don't meet someone day one and go, "I love you." You mean the first almost do an assessment to see how bad you are. Like
Exactly.
the same thing. It's like, wow, this is coming on too strong here. It's
Too
just
much. Yeah.
too
Do
much.
less.
Yeah.
And for anyone listening who's great, I get why I shouldn't be doing assessment. But what do I do? I like to focus on adherence is key, especially for new exercisers, just getting days under our belt, like literally checking off days. That can be
100%.
both a quantitative or a qualitative data point. I love focusing on behaviors, any type of behavior the client's working on that they can see some movement in growth in. I focus on those, checking those things off. And in some ways, weight loss, I'll use that as an example. Weight loss is elusive. Every body is going to body differently, right? Not everything is going to work on every single person. And we're always chasing the whack-a-mole. And what is so much easier to chase is, did I drink the water or did I not? Did I get my movement in today or did I not? And those are the things we can start to feel really good about. So focusing on behaviors, focusing on adherence, and then define your own measurement system. So if a client walks up a flight of stairs on day one, ask them on an RPE of 1 to 10, how hard did it feel on the stairs? It felt a 4. Cool. Hopefully in 6 weeks, it feels like a 2. whatever the measurement system is. You can literally define anything on a 1 to 10 scale. That's my go-to method. If the example is, I want to be able to play with my grandchildren for longer. Okay, how long can you play with them now? And on a scale of 1 to 10, how hard does it feel? Okay, in the next 6 to 8 weeks, we want it to have a longer duration and a lower intensity level. Those are the ways I like to. But Darren, I'd love to know if you have other ways you love to help measure success with your clients.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, I tend to use measurements that I think are very anti mainstream in a sense. Talking to clients, what I'll be looking to see is the smoothness of your movement. In the beginning, obviously, it's like anything, you're learning something new and it's often pretty herky jerky. It's not smooth and it goes. I love when clients say, it doesn't look very pretty. And I'm like, we're not focused on that. That's
Hmm.
not what we're
Hmm.
focused on. But over time, that smoothness, stability is beautiful. Stable, being stable is beautiful. And I use terms like that. How, wow, you just look so much smoother. You look confidence. I measure confidence. How did you start when we started to where we are now? Do you feel more confident? Not only here, but also in other places in your life. Does this translate to other areas of your life? I bet for all of you out there, you could think of a lot of these things too. It just doesn't sound very metricy, right? It's like,
Yeah, right.
I need this norm reference standard says I'm 90th percentile for my gender and my you know,
Yep.
my
Yep.
age. But these other things, I know they feel more ethereal, but they're actually more real life when talking
Totally.
with people. Do you feel more
Totally.
social with other people from this work type of thing? I'm a big competent. You feel more competent. This
Hmm.
exercise bleeds into so many other things in your life.
Hmm.
That is a metric. That is a beautiful metric. All of a sudden, those
Yeah.
tentacles are starting to wrap itself around every aspect of your life. Are you a better spouse to someone else? Are you a better brother, sister? Like I ask
Hmm.
people that, yeah, I feel better like about that part of my life. It's just the beauty of exercise. It literally knows no bounds.
That is beautiful. And I don't know if you've experienced this. I felt so many clients I've seen in my history, they'll come in and the first thing they say is, I want to lose weight.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we want to always dive deeper to try to find what's the real why. Because I don't know that I've ever seen with my two eyes a client actually intrinsically motivated by just the idea of shrinking their body. It sounds like it when they start, but what they really want is to feel more like them. They want to have more energy. They want to feel good about the things they're doing, like all the lovely items you just mentioned. It's not really the shrinking of the body that makes someone feel most like them. And yet that's where we focus a lot of our energy. So if we could just take a shift and identify with the rapport you have with that client, what is more meaningful to them across the portions of their life, we're more likely to find areas of metric that will help them actually be successful.
For sure. That I still feel like that's a pretty large request for a lot of people, and certainly back in the day, it was a big request, and I try to mix it in with a little bit of education and a little bit of inquiry
Mhm.
at the same
Mhm.
time, and because there's still this pervasive thing of, "I'm just gonna exercise my way to this body weight," instead of
Sure.
understanding the data is fairly clear about this, and there's really this the amount that you'd have to do would be astronomical in order to contribute
Mhm.
to it for that. And then, like you said, where is this coming from? Why do you believe losing weight would benefit you? And then
Mhm.
once you dig deeper, you realize it's really not about that. It's always about something
It
else.
really
Isn't
isn't.
this our human
Mhm.
experience? We have this
Yeah,
referred feeling about something else, but we cover it with the facade of another thing for
that's
that.
right.
And then once you
Mhm.
peel back the layer, you go, I know what this is actually about.
Yeah. And you hit on it earlier, but I feel like if we look at the dichotomy of old school personal training that has you come in, your initial consultation has the assessments in it, then you write the program, and then you do the workouts, right? What you're talking about is the relationship you have with that client. You're not going to figure all those things out in your first session, and it's okay to, right? Like the initial consultation is for so many things, and you're going to get a good start on all of that. But it doesn't have to be everything. And you're going to learn more as you go, and they're going to get more comfortable with you and share more with you. And your program can ebb and flow as they get more comfy with movements or if they don't like certain things. There's just so much that can grow and change over time. It doesn't all have to be figured out in the first.
I love that. I got to tell you, this is literally my mantra for working with all my clients. So I'll be training tonight and tomorrow morning, and all that is And I'll get to that in a second, but a great story is if I'm ever at a party or somewhere, someone finds
Mhm.
out I'm a personal trainer, you've probably seen this happen to yourself.
Yeah.
"What
Yes.
should I be doing? I don't know if I'm doing
Yeah.
it. What do you think I should do?" And I always go, "I don't know." And they go,
Mhm.
"Really?" I said, "How would I know? I haven't sat down with you. I haven't worked with you. I don't know and understand your super compensation levels, all that good I don't know how you respond to what we're gonna
Mhm.
do." And this is part of what I tell my clients in the assessment is in the intake is this is a living, breathing, changing journey we're on. As I
Yes.
see you move regularly and you get those that adherence, you come in regularly,
Mhm.
I will start to know what I exactly I need to do with you, how to push different buttons and how we work
Mhm.
together. No one knows what to do with you in the beginning. No one,
Right.
promise you,
Yes.
not one person knows what to do with you on day one
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna give you some 5 major movements. We're gonna do all the things, and then we're gonna see what happens, and we're gonna
Yes.
modify it, and we're gonna change. Yep.
That uncertainty is hard for people. I feel like they want the answer. We want the answer. I do this
Yes.
many times a week, this specific
Right.
program. I'm like, how do we even know until we have a good idea of the concept? But for me to dig in, I have to be around you, see your movement, understand what do you Friday night? What's Friday night like for you when you come in on Saturday? What's
Mhm.
Tuesday like?
Mhm.
What's your work schedule like? 'Cause I got to know all these variables in order for me to
Yeah.
understand. And I need to be around you. I need to feel your presence in whatever version that means to get in sync with who you are as a human and how I could help you in this.
Yeah.
I know trainers, everybody listen to this, that doesn't sound amazing. So I need to put this in a box. Blow up the box. Like,
Blow up the box.
blow up the box.
Amen.
Just blow it up. Just let let
That's what we're
let
doing
yourself
here on
be
this
intuitive.
podcast.
Blow it up, right? Have I ever
Yeah.
thought about this? Blow up the box. Like,
Mhm. Yeah, sit back and take some reflective thinking on all the things we've always done. What I love what you were saying too is it reminds me of the concept of all or nothing thinking, which so many new exercisers will have, right? I've never exercised. I feel the inspiration. I'm going to work out with my trainer 5 days a week. I'm going to take a cycling class every 6:30 a.m. cycling class 5 days a week. And then after 1 week or 2 weeks, they're off that cycle. And so the whole point is not to put them in a perfect box of all these days and this perfect progressive training program. The idea is to think long term. Again, not sexy and not as fun sounding, but it is long term and it can't be all or nothing. And it does need to ebb and flow because that is what life looks like.
it's interesting that you said that. We're very we have a very like synchronicity based mind when it comes to this stuff. And I remember I had a client. This was like back in Washington when I lived there. She's like, "Oh, I'm thinking of 5 days a week," and I said, "I don't think so." And I don't think she was very thrown off by that. I said, "Listen, this is not a money grab for me. This is
Mhm,
about doing the right thing for you. I don't
mhm,
know you from anything. I have to see
mhm.
how you move, how you recover from what we're doing. We're
Yeah,
going to start very conservative, and then we'll see where that leads. We'll
right.
have more frequency, but a lot of that's going to depend on what I see and how often you show up." I think that blew her
Yeah.
mind. She's probably thinking, "This is great. This guy's going to work. Oh my God, he's going to blow through these sessions. We're going to renew quickly." And I'm thinking in my mind, "Oh no, that's a recipe for failure, right?
It is.
Hasn't
Yes,
haven't exercised in 6, 7 years, and then you wanna do that? My job's to keep you safe also.
that's right.
That would not
And
keep
to keep you moving. It's
Yep.
not going to keep you moving if you start with
No.
5 days a week. It just won't. But you will be out of here quickly.
Yeah, you will not be
Hmm.
you'll be feeling having all the feels.
Yeah, exactly.
And not the right way either. You'll be these will be
Not the
bad
right way. Not
feels.
the right feel.
Those will be
Yes,
some
bad
feels.
feels.
You'll be getting that for that. But it's just, I'm glad
Right.
there's people like yourself, Kristen, who are breaking the box, blowing it up, and just asking a simple question, which is, should I be doing this? Or why, or just stating why we shouldn't be doing this.
That's
Brilliant
right.
stuff. Thank you so much for coming on with me to look at the far side of this. Would love for people to check out a little bit more of your work. So please promote away.
Amazing. You can find me at christineverson.com or LinkedIn at Christin Everson. And I think my big takeaway for today is, blow up the box, take some time to think reflectively about all the things you're doing and consider how does it affect the client experience comprehensively? How does it make people feel about themselves? And how can we take all the really incredible things you do, but make sure it applies to new exercisers?
Fantastic. Kristen, thank you so much. It's a real pleasure, and I actually did
Thank
meet you in
you.
person in Chicago.
Yes,
I
that's
remember
right.
at one of my
Yes.
at my presentation with Andrew. It was such a pleasure to
Yep.
meet you, and I hope we run into each other again at another conference.
Yeah. Thank you for all the incredible things you're doing for the industry. It's really exciting and congrats on your mentorship program.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.